Hi, my name is Miss Emolyn, and I'm a teaching artist with the PACE Art Program. We integrate the arts with classroom curriculum, and we're coming to you today thanks to the Acadiana Center for the Arts and the Lafayette Parish school system in Lafayette, Louisiana. Today we are going to be learning about sheep and lambs and their wool. We use their wool to make fiber, and with that fiber we can make sweaters and hats and all kinds of things, mittens. And I have a story that we're going to read. And after that, we are going to see some real live sheep. Now you might ask why I know how or these animals grow this fiber. It's because my family happens to raise the sheep, and we raise the sheep especially for the wool. We spin the wool and then knit it, and we create wearable art, or in this case, we're just going to focus on sweaters. At the end of the lesson, after we have read the book, we're going to draw our very own sheep, and we're going to try to draw a sweater on that sheep. At the end of every year, after the sheep has grown the wool, we have to shear or cut, give them a haircut, and take that wool off. Now, the sheep really need that haircut because the wool weighs them down. If we didn't give them that haircut, it would grow so big and fluffy. So our story is about that process, and guess what? It is based around spring, and we just sheared our sheep. So I'm going to take you down to the barn, introduce you to the sheep and the lambs. They are very curious, and some of them might walk right up and say hello. Then we're going to get into our story and our art project. The only supplies you really need today are a comfy chair, a piece of paper and a pencil, and maybe some coloring crayons if you want to add color to your picture. Let's begin.
They didn't see it. Henry said, "Oh look, that one boy's jumping on the bed just like I did you." Turn it on. Go back. Go back.
They're very curious about what they can eat. Sniffing my feet. It is dinner time for the sheep. Eating grass makes them healthy. Sometimes they eat grain or corn, or they actually need salt in their system. And they like sweet things like molasses. So here they are eating the sweet grass, and let's begin the story. Haircuts for the Woolseys. Now, I definitely think this family is called the Woolseys because sheep, when they grow their fiber on, or what we would call a fleece, it is wool. Now, usually they're big and fluffy, and they look like big animals. Right now, though, they're mostly just little animals, and that's because they've already had their hair cut. Written and illustrated by Tommy de Paola. Winter was finally over at Fiddle-Dee-Dee Farms. The snow had melted, and it was beginning to get warm outside. The Woolsey children couldn't wait to run and jump and play in the fields again. As soon as the mud dries up, said Mama. When will that be? Asked Mary and Tom and Tim. It won't be long, said Papa. Our lambs love to run and jump and play in the fields too. And all of our lambs have names. Each day it was sunnier and a little warmer. Each day they looked for the spring flowers to poke their heads up in the garden. And each day Mary and Tom and Tim made plans to build a kite to fly from the top of the hill. Then one day Papa said, "The sun is shining, the mud's all gone, and now you can play outside." "Hooray!" shouted Mary and Tom and Tim. But first, it's time for spring haircuts, Papa told them. All winter long, the Woolseys' fleece had grown thick and curly. It kept them nice and warm in the snow, but in the spring, everybody in the Woolsey family got haircuts. Clip, 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 clip. And then they like to run and jump and play. Spring was such a wonderful time of the year. But sometimes with our weather, it can change really quickly. Because that very night, a cold wind blew down from the North Country. Woo! The wind howled as it rushed around the house. We have a visitor. Papa Woolsey made a big fire in the fireplace. Mama Woolsey made a fire in the kitchen stove. See how they're all wearing their pajamas? Granny Woolsey piled quilts on everyone's bed. Mary and Tom and Tim shivered and huddled in front of the fire. It was so cold. This is our little kitty who lives in the barn. His name is Cucumber. He likes this story too. As the fires died down, everyone went to bed, except Granny. She's sitting there thinking about something, and she's covered with a nice blanket. And look, right there is the wool that they just cut. It's right there. They're looking out the window at the snow. Well, this is a surprise, said Papa Woolsey when they woke up the next morning and looked out. Fiddle-Dee-Dee Farms was white with snow. It's too cold to go out today, said Mama. Especially with your haircut, said Papa. Oh no, cried the Woolsey children, just when we could play outside again. I wish we hadn't got those haircuts, said Mary. Now we can't have any fun, said Tom and Tim. Oh yes you can, said Granny. I've been busy all night. She's got something over her arm. And she has a ball of yarn with some knitting needles in there. What do you think she's been doing? And Mary and Tom and Tim had a grand time outside wearing their haircuts, which Granny had made into brand new sweaters. Making a little sheep snowman with a heart. Alright, so sheep generally do not put their wool back on like a sweater, but they need to be sheared once a year, and that wool can turn into a lot of good fiber. So we have about 45 sheep, which means we have about 45 fleeces, and we make blankets and yarn, and we also sell the wool so people can make their own yarn. And we're going to turn this story into an art project where we're going to draw a sheep and put a sweater on them, just to be silly. Say bye to Cucumber. Okay, we're going to use the book as inspiration, and we're going to pick a sheep that we want to draw. Think to yourself, do I want to be the granny, the papa, the mama, the girl, or the two boys? A girl sheep is called a ewe, and a boy sheep is called a ram, and a little sheep is called a lamb. So we saw some lambs in the field and some ewes because they were the mamas of the lambs. Ewe is spelled E-W-E. How else can we spell you? It's another word with 3 letters. Yep. Y-O-U. Okay. Think about which sheep you want to draw. Let's find a page with a happy sheep. This is after they're sheared, so they have straight lines instead of all the curvy lines. So let's go back to one of the sheep that still has all the curvy lines because he has not had a haircut yet. In some of the classes that we taught, or we didn't not teach, but in some of the classes that I taught and you took, we made kites. Remember that? So let's do this papa sheep, or if you want to do a lamb, you can draw a baby sheep. And this is a cartoon, which means it is pretend. Sheep don't stand on 2 feet, they stand on 4 feet. But let's decide, do we want our sheep to stand on 4 feet or 2? I will sketch both choices with you. Just a quick sketch. If the sheep is more realistic, we would make him stand on 4 feet. With the curly fur. Look at his body. And they usually have a little tail. And then they have a head with a nose and curly. This is a very quick sketch. I would definitely work on his face, but you get the point. If we're pretending and we want to do animation, we could make him stand up like a person. This is pretend. Granted, you would not find this in the field. Let's make that a little bit wider. Then the curly fleece. And an ear. Okay, this is more pretend because sheep don't stand up like this. The videos I showed you, are they standing on 2 feet or 4? But let's take our work a little bit farther and let's do either standing on 2 feet or standing on 4 feet. Let's draw them after they are sheared. What does shearing mean? Shearing means they have had a haircut. So are these sheep sheared or not? You're right, they have curvy shapes along their bodies. This means they are not sheared or they have not had their hair cut. Let's draw one where they did have their hair cut because we are going to put a sweater on them. Let's work with this one. Remember how they like to run and play? Let's use this lamb as inspiration. Now the paper is here because we can cut the paper and glue down some pictures in the end. So using this little guy right here, I'm going to try to flatten this page. Actually, let's give, see how he's jumping? Let's put a, the earth. Let's give him something to land on. So you can use a ruler and do a straight line, or you can just pretend, and we can even continue this curve and we can keep it like a hill. Let's come down and then back up again, so he'll be jumping right up here. Okay? We call that the horizon line too. This, if you brought some colors with you, let's add some green. Now the grass is going in all directions. Do you remember when I was sitting in the field and it was really going all directions? So I'm taking the edge of my pencil and I'm just brushing it flat. And we're going to keep this part simple because the main part is going to be our sheep. Sorry, the page keeps moving. That's because I'm tapping it on the side of the page. Now we can go back and make this perfect, but you know what? I think anything you do is going to be perfect because you're doing it and you're taking the time to try. So you should definitely pat yourself on the back for trying something new. Okay, we have our landscape. Now let's put our lamb on the landscape. I'm just gonna freehand, I'm gonna draw the lamb up high with his arms up. Okay, so what does the lamb have? Does he have feet like ours? No, he has hooves. So they come down. There's two sides to the hoof. Okay, he has a little tail. Here's his hooves again. He has long ears and a nose that comes out. We make this nose that comes out, we just drop it down a little, and when we curve his eyes like that, does it look like he's frowning? No, it looks like he's smiling. Yeah. So let's try to do that. Let's just pretend. Let's say our inspiration can be any happy sheep that has been sheared, because I do know they love to run and play, but we're using him as inspiration. Okay, we're not going to copy. We're just using his idea as inspiration because he is so talented. Let's give it a shot. Using your pencil, can we put a lamb up here? Okay. Now in second grade, I know that you have already practiced some drawing skills with the teachers at Pace. So here's his little belly, his 2 feet with the hooves, and we're going to come up the side of his body. There's his little tail. It doesn't matter how tall he is. Yours might be taller than mine. Doesn't matter how wide they are. We're going to skip the scarf because we're going to draw that ourselves, and we're going to draw it like a sweater. So just putting his arms out, if you make curved lines, he looks like he's going up. Remember, you can stop this video at any time if I'm going too fast. Other side. And there is a shading of the hoof, so we can do the shading with a pencil or with a color, with a crayon color or a colored pencil, or pastels, or anything you like to work with, really. Okay, his big face and his chin comes down below his body. So we're gonna, I like to practice where I start with the top of the head. And I know he has long ears, so I'm gonna go out with his ears, curving down. Lambs have the cutest ears. Now his face is curved. This is like a backward C, and this is like a other way around. Backward C, forward C, like an oval. Can we make an oval? Nice job. Okay, now looking at his little smiley eyes, add a center part of his ears, because it does change color on the center. Add his little rosy cheeks and his little nose. Okay, do you have something like that? Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. And I want to finish today with 2 things. Let's add some flowers on the bottom. and let's put a sweater on him, because when we talked about shearing and haircuts, we need to help out the sheep by shearing them once a year. If we don't, their wool just keeps growing and growing and growing. But it grows so much faster than our hair. Can you imagine if you never got a haircut? Now we can just put it down for fun, saying that it can be movable, or we can glue it. Okay, I'm going to cut a couple more flowers. I'm pretending these are like daisy shapes, just a good old curved shape. And I'm just going to keep that bottom line straight so it looks like these flowers are coming out from the bottom of the picture. One more. Last one. If you want to glue them, I would recommend just putting the glue on the outside edge, turning it over and gluing it down without moving it. Once more, just a little line of glue, putting it down. This one's on top. If we layer on top, it looks a little bit more realistic. Okay, back to our sheep. Let's pick a different color. What color do you want his sweater to be? You might be asking, if he's a white sheep, how do we change the color of his wool? Well, you don't only see white sweaters, do you? I'm sure you have worn a purple sweater, or a blue sweater, or a red sweater with blue diamonds on it. Just to remind us about hearts and friendship and people we care about, let's put a sweater on him that is blue and has red hearts for love and friendship. Now, the way it becomes blue is because it is dyed. Not D-I-E, but dyeing meaning changing something from white to a color. And it usually is cloth. You wouldn't dye paper. You would dye cloth. Okay? I'm noticing his little belly right here, and I think that's pretty cute, so I'm going to add that. And I'm going to put the sweater right here. Here's the sleeves. And the neckline. Now, we don't need sweaters this time of year, do we? But we sheared this time of year. That's why we're talking about the fleece. I'm going to put the hearts right here on the front of his sweater. Okay? And then I'm going to add a waistband. And we're going to color this. Remember we said blue. Blue for the sweater. And red for the pattern, which is the hearts. But guess what? We'll do red for the cuffs, and red for the neckband, and red for the hearts. Here we go. Final touches. Cuff, cuff, waistband, hearts. Just outline them for now. I want to do the neckband and the hearts. Okay, and with all of your art, Please sign it. You are the creative person. You are the one who works so hard. You get to sign your name. By, or you could just do your name. You don't have to do by. And what is your name? Sign it here. Miss Emolyn. Okay, I can't wait to see what you create. I hope you enjoyed our lesson today. We'll be posting new lessons every day at 10 a.m. on the Acadiana Center for the Arts YouTube channel for kindergarten, first, and second grades, each tied to the academic curriculum. You can also get these lessons on AOC as part of the Learn United program, accessible on AOC on Cox Channel 16 or LUS Channel 4. Kindergarten lessons air at 8 and first and second grades at 9 a.m. Some lessons will be in visual arts and some in creative movement. So be sure to come back and make art with us tomorrow. If you're interested in supporting programs like this, visit acadianacenterforthearts.org, the nonprofit that manages the PACE program. And please spread the word, share our videos, and keep making art.